Africa 24. This program is brought to you by the AFCFTA Secretariat.
When we talk about the continental free trade area, we're talking about investment, but above all, financing of small and medium-sized enterprises. Today, to discuss the crucial issue of financing and credit for these entities, we welcome Souleymane Diagne, Group Head for Trade at the Ecobank Group. Mr. Souleymane Diagne, welcome to Africa 24 English.
Good morning and happy to be here.
Thank you. According to the IMF, nearly half of the 40 million SMEs in sub-Saharan Africa have no access to credit, yet they account for 90% of businesses on the continent and employ 60% of the workforce. To expand beyond national markets, they need to increase their production capacity, and so they need financing. How are commercial banks like yours trying to meet this challenge?
Thank you for the question. It's true that the SMEs, first of all, they constitute 90% of the business composition of the landscape. And it's very important that as a bank, we really address that need for financing. So what do we do in terms of Ecobank? First of all, you know Ecobank, we are in 33 countries. We are basically a Pan-African bank with the largest presence. And it's very important as a Pan-African bank that we ensure that we address those needs for SMEs. So what do we do? First of all, given our presence in 33 countries, we are able to really facilitate payments. It's important to start there because it's important that also these payments are tracked and SMEs sales are also really tracked, and we make sure basically that based on those tracking we can put those financing in place. So at Ecobank we've also innovated in terms of just making sure that for the SMEs, some of the youth and the women-led business are also addressed. So we've had a very interesting initiative that we called Elevate, and that initiative is basically to address the needs of women-led business, or for the businesses that actually address the financing needs or the products that women need. So how do we address that? There are three components of the SME conundrum, as they call it. So first, there's a market access, because yes, we talk about SMEs, but before we finance them, it's important that we open up and we address the market access. So at Ecobank, we've basically had this initiative to ensure that we create a platform. That platform is basically to ensure that we leverage on our platform, on our 33 country presence, and basically give visibility of those SMEs and their products. So we said to ourselves that we have 30 million clients across the continent. How do we ensure that there's visibility and we really reduce the asymmetry of information between an SME that is based in Senegal, Dakar, and an SME that is based in either Harare, Zimbabwe, or in Nairobi in Kenya? And we've created that platform. It is free in terms of registration, and it's also open to non-Ecobank clients. So it's really our contribution. And the idea is to ensure that there's just visibility in terms of products and services across the continent. And we've had successes. First of all, there's around 6,000 SMEs that have registered into that platform. And more importantly, there's been matches. The latest one having been a client based in Côte d'Ivoire, having been able to source corn seeds from a client in Burkina Faso. So those are the examples of what we do, first of all, to improve on market access. Now, once we talk about market access, there's also the aspect regarding how do we manage the credit, because a lot is being said around banks not being able to really support as much as needed. But we also have been really very voluntary in making sure that we really help those SMEs increase their in terms of capacity. And when I say capacity, is that first of all, we need to help them formalize, and secondly, just increase their capacity in terms of governance aspects, accounting, etc. So we've had an initiative, and under this Elevate initiative, there's just, first of all, a mentoring program within the Elevate or the women-led business. And more importantly, we have an Ecobank Academy. And through that academy, we've been able to implement some SME training to just make sure that when a file is submitted, those files have actually the requirement that would help us finance. Now, talking about market, once we address market access, then capacity building, we come to the core of the point, which is financing. So what do we do? First of all, we as an institution, one key point that we really find very critical is the scale, the ability to really manage the financing of the SMEs at scale. And we do that through what we call credit programs. And this credit program basically allow us to really, based on set criteria, to really finance those SMEs on a very large scale. And I've talked about the Elevate program. And for example, under the Elevate program, there are actually reduced tariffs or pricing applied to those women-led businesses.
All right, now I would like to know what Ecobank does within the framework of EFCFTA. What partnerships do you think are essential to better meet the challenges of SMEs, financing and deliver on the promises of the EFCFTA?
Yes, I've talked about one key initiative, which is the single market trade hub. The other thing is just the partnership that we put together to ensure that we just scale, right? I've talked about the credit program, and we've had the partnership, for example, with the African Guarantee Fund, and generally with a lot of development finance institutions to help us scale, right, in terms of just the quantum of financing that we do. So for the African Guarantee Fund, this was a $215 million guarantee with the ability to basically risk share and giving a scale. So meaning that if we give $100 million, then the African Guarantee Fund would take 50% of the risk, and basically allowing us to intervene, being able to finance these SMEs, but at a scale. So that's one of those initiatives that we have, and that basically address the SMEs, because we know that under the AFCFTA, the SMEs should be really mining the regional value chain, and we are basically supporting them through those financing. So the other aspect that is also very important from a supply chain perspective is really having those products that are able to really look at the two sides of the spectrum in terms of the trade, right? We are in 33 countries. It means that as Ecobank, we can have the right due diligence in a very fast manner between a company that is a buyer based in Bamako, in Mali, and a seller based in Tanzania, Dar es Salaam, for example. Because we are in both sides of the transaction, we are not only able to do the payment efficiently, but more importantly, on the back of those contracting, be able to really do the due diligence between the buyer and the seller, and be able to really structure the financing.
What opportunities do you see in the EFCFTA for banks, in particular for Ecobank?
Now, the AFCFTA is an opportunity for the continent, and we are, as a Pan-African bank, we are a key stakeholder. And one important point, going back 39 years, because Ecobank is also celebrating its 39 years as a Pan-African bank, and the vision of our founding fathers was to really promote regional integration. So looking at that vision and the AFCFTA objective of really fostering intra-Africa trade, those are basically on the crossroads, and we are really looking forward to really reaping the benefits of the AFCFTA. We know that when African countries trade between themselves, they tend to add value, and that these are economies that those values actually increase the economies in the continent and increase generally the welfare. And as a bank, as a Pan-African bank, we are basically looking forward to first help close those financing gap, and more importantly, help our SMEs and the businesses that are our clients to really thrive under the AFCFTA.
Well, then what challenges do you think public authorities urgently need to address to improve trade finance in Africa?
I don't see, again, much challenges. It's just a lot of, again, capacity building in terms of information. I think a lot has been said about really making sure that SMEs and in general, businesses are aware of those opportunities in terms of trading, but also in terms of investment, being able to scale, increase the industrialization of the continent, and with that be able to really reap the benefit of the AFCFTA.
Now, what about the regulation in that framework?
The regulation is I mean, there are obviously always discussion around how we can continue to improve. But so far, I've mentioned some of the partnership we've had. From a regulatory perspective, I think there's discussion being held for customs, how do we facilitate, and these are more on the non-tariff barriers to make sure that commerce or trade is facilitated between across borders. These are things that are ongoing. I feel that there's been progress, but those progress, we need to build on those progress and continue to really reap the benefits.
Well, now I would like to talk a bit about Senegal, your country. In Senegal, for example, according to data from the International Labour Organization, 9 out of 10 workers are in informal employment and 97% of businesses are in the informal sector. Among the difficulties facing the sector are the lack of position protection for informal workers, lack of access to credit, we already talked about it, and financial services, and mostly unfair competition with the formal sector. How does your bank position itself in relations to these challenges?
Thank you. I mean, yeah, we can talk about Senegal, but this what you describe is generally common to the continent, right? So I think, first of all, that's where we really see the benefit of the AFCFTA, because with trade, we know that trade is core to really improving and fostering development. So in any of our African countries, we need to really foster development through trade, and specifically intra-Africa trade, because these are, again, improving on youth employment, because a lot of the SMEs that we talked about are led by youth. In Ecobank, you know that we have this fintech challenge, so we have a very voluntary engagement with the fintechs. To ensure that we really help on the youth and just basically promoting some innovation. So in terms of employment, if we get the SMEs to really trade, they would be growing, and by growing, they would be also increasing employment. This talks about the general welfare that the AFCFTA will bring. So really, for us, it's about making sure that, just in line with the vision of our founding fathers, how do we really promote the regional integration through financial services, and through that regional integration, how do we foster trade, and through trade, development, and through development, more welfare and more benefit for the continent and its communities.
Thank you for shedding light on these questions. It was a pleasure to have you with us, Mr. Souleymane Diagne. Ladies and gents, here comes the end of this interview, but please stay tuned to Africa 24 English.
This program was brought to you by the AFCFTA Secretariat on Africa 24.